Hi everyone, this is my Neuroscience of Awareness blog. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite domain of integration. It's memory integration. I gave a talk on Monday titled Memory Integration, Learn and Practice, and I told the audience I would upload a video explaining what I did in the demo with the person, we'll call him Bob, and that's to continue their learning. And for people who are new, what I'm about to show you is something you can use to literally be your own neurosurgeon, and you can go in and you can use your mind and you can change your brain. So this is really valuable information, and I will say that sometimes we have to be co-regulated first before we can successfully self-regulate. That just means together there's attunement, and then self-regulation is where you calm yourself down. So if you haven't been successfully co-regulated when you're very young, it may be harder to do that. So the types of activities I'm about to describe, they require an ability to hold attention and to hold multiple memories and to kind of travel in time and use imagination. And people have different skill levels with this. So if it seems hard for you, what I'd recommend is doing it with someone else. And feel free to reach out to me at heidicrockett@gmail.com or heidicrockett.com if you have more questions. So let's just dive into it. So I have another video I called, it's Fast versus Slow Systems. It's number 7 on my blog, and I talk about memory reconsolidation. So just watch that. Feel free to stop this video, watch that, and come back. But this is just a further explanation. When you do memory reconsolidation, it's a neuroscience term where you nullify or erase the charge of like a bad memory. And what you have to do is you have to change your relationship with, here it's calling it the fearful stimulus. It's just the thing when you have a bad memory, like you can just think of one right now as I'm talking. It usually ends like dun dun dun. That has to do with, I think, the way it's stored in the brain. And when you do this memory reconsolidation process, or I'm just calling it memory integration, the charge would go away, and that's how you would know that it was successful. And so here you see on the screen, it's not surrounding yourself with snakes that will change the memory. It's it's called a mismatch experience or new meaning experience, where you create the belief inside of you that you have the resources to protect yourself from getting bitten by a snake, or that you could survive if a snake did bite you. So there's something that changes the fear. There's more of a resilience that's built, and you change the memory. And so I talk about 9 domains of integration in my neurobiology model. There's 9 functions of the prefrontal cortex. Today we're just going to talk about number 4, which is memory integration. I'll talk about some of those other videos. And when you're going to see a lot here on the screen, but my main piece of information I'll share with the audience is that what we do know about memory is that memory is one point in time and another point in time. So all the other things that we might think of about memory, we're still trying to figure them out. So there's explicit, which is like if I asked you about your first kiss, right? So you would use your explicit memory to recall what age you were. But then if I did this thing called sifting, sensation, image, feeling, thought, that would get you more into the implicit aspect of the memory, which is like, what did it feel like? What did it feel like, the 2 lips touching, or what was, assuming it was like a positive experience. So what we want to do, there's explicit memory, and then there's implicit memory. And implicit memory is where really intense emotions go, and it gets stuck in these mental models or schema. There's priming associated with it. Whenever you hear doors slam, that could be a priming. You get a sensation, emotion, perception, behavior. It's kind of like this little pod of sensation or feeling, and it's not really an explicit memory thought. Like you can't just describe it with words usually. Usually you just feel it as sensations in the body. And the interesting thing about implicit memory is it's not tagged with time. So if someone slams the door and you get triggered from the past, you're not going to be like, oh, I'm experiencing implicit memory from when I was 6. You're just going to experience it as a high level of emotional intensity in your body at that point in time. So that's another good takeaway for the people who are listening, that if you notice yourself having abnormally high level of arousal, kind of for no clear reason, you're probably tapping into implicit memory. And then here's something you can do. Here's a process you can do. So I had a client who, what we do in order to help heal the memory is we go between different nervous system states, and it kind of resets that nervous system tube, if you can imagine, so that the memories can flow in and out more smoothly. There's not like chunky bits. Like, we can think of memories as being in a little capsule of undifferentiated fear and rage, or undifferentiated fear and immobility, but they're just like these chunky memory capsules. And when we do this traveling around and we create what's called a mismatch experience, we can kind of pop the bubbles. And you have to really experience it in your body to understand what I'm saying, because I'm just giving an intellectual understanding. But what you would do is you would first ground yourself into a feeling of sympathetic, parasympathetic calm, which, if you look at this 3-dot system, what we're going to do in the beginning is we're going to cultivate a soothing system. So that would be making yourself feeling really supported. So I oftentimes will have people think of people in their life who support them and supportive things they would say. When I do it in a group, I have one person, and then everyone on the group says positive things, and then the person who we're focusing on repeats them back, and they have to be things that feel real. And that gets the person in a state of, it's called social engagement, where they feel cared for and heard and safe. And there's lots of other things you can do. You can think of positive memories that make you feel really happy. I've said in this blog before, when I think of big trees, that makes me feel really good in my body. So if you have something swimming in the ocean, if you have something that you think of that makes you feel good, then that feeling would be brought in the room at all. Just lots of things that make you feel soothed and calm. So you just build that up. So that's one nervous system state. You really get grounded in that. Then, and with this, we'll call him Bob, we had ocean state. That was his good state. Then he thought of a state that it carried over time, and which he when he sifted it, sensation, image, feeling, thought, the image was an unhappy face. And there were just periods in his life where he just wouldn't smile. And so that was unhappy face state. A state is something that was born at one point in your life, and then it grows a history, and we picked a specific memory to work on. So the ocean state and the unhappy face state are states that you've experienced many times in your life. And so from the unhappy state, what happened was he picked one time, and we'll call that one time, kind of goes underneath it, investment Bob. And what we did was we went into that one memory, because you really can only kind of do this work going one memory at a time. And he went back to a time, and what we did was we brought him into the room. And we in the room, and I was there, and I guided him, and my tone of voice and everything. He was distressed. He experienced an investing moment that was extremely disappointing. We went around the room and we said things that he wanted to hear. And we just did different things that helped him, this one moment in time, feel more heard and seen. And then what happened was we moved him forward in time. One thing we said was like, fail stands for first attempt in learning. So instead of him feeling really disappointed and hard on himself, he was able to kind of just turn it around a little bit. And then in his own mind's eye, he was able to remember times in the future when he did succeed. And also moving forward in time, he had a moment in the future where he felt happy and secure. And this doesn't really do it justice. I'm just trying to explain how we did the process for the people who are interested. And when he did that, the thing is, when you're doing the memory consolidation and you're reliving the memory and you're integrating it, that bad memory that you talk to, that you soothe, that you let it hear what it needs to hear. A lot of times things happen that it didn't get, there's a movement that wants to be made, there's some charge, some fight or flight, something that needs to release, and then you move forward in time. You always want the memory to end on a happy note. And so then it ended on a happy note, and then I've heard that it's successful. The way that it's successful is that when the person recalls, like say about a day or two later, the memory, there's just not the same level of charge. It's not that you've forgotten the bad memory, it's just like the way it used to weigh on you, like an anchor, it doesn't have that weight anymore. So I would encourage you to try this. You can do it imagining yourself being supported, then dipping into a memory. Choose not such a terrible bad memory. Choose a lighter one in the beginning. I did this on myself with a memory that happened in 11th grade, and I was shamed by people in school. And I had the class say to me that my life was very important to them and that they were sorry. And I really feel differently about the memory now. So it does work once you kind of ground yourself. And feel free to reach out to me and do a session with me. But this is how you can be your own neurosurgeon. This is how you do memory integration. And just for the sake of time, I'll stop this. But thanks for listening, and I'll be on again soon.